Am I ready to go?
Okay, let's go.
Yeah. Hey, folks. Thanks, Jens, for inviting me. I'm. It's been a while since I've done one of these online things. Very much pandemic vibes, but I'm happy to. I'm happy to do it. So when I started to sort of prepare for this presentation, I actually had to go back and look and see when did I start doing presentations at international conferences, and I was a bit surprised that I've done this now for over 10 years. And I must say that it on some level is surprising. Like time flies, right? But and in some ways, I feel much more confident when I prepare a presentation now. When I get very very excited to actually present at a conference, and uh, at the same time, I realize that I'm learning so much each year, and with each conference, and with each iteration of a particular presentation that I might be doing at different conferences. Like from iteration to iteration, from year to year, I feel like I'm progressing so much, as if I'm sort of just beginning, just learning. So I'm very much it is a learning journey for me, and I'm learning from a lot of great folks. So by the way, this is like a mandatory slide, places and projects where I've done some damage in the past or currently. So I want to start this talk by telling you that uh, you are not this guy, right? And don't even try, right? There are presenters who are sort of more than just presenters at technical conferences. They're sort of the combination of great engineers and stand-up comedians and great entertainers, right? uh, you can definitely enjoy the experience. And I sort of always wanted to get to that level, but you don't have to do that. So you can be a very good technical presenter, and you can very much enjoy the experience and have the audience be very engaged and feel that they like watching your presentations without needing to be uh, Alexandrescu level presenter. And trust me, I've tried. Like a few years back at CPPCon, I think, yeah, a few years back, there was a workshop about technical speaking. It was called Engage, Entertain, Educate. And I actually, when I saw this workshop, I immediately signed up and I said, "Oh, I want to learn." And this was in 2018. These were the workshop mentors, trainers, and I immediately signed up, and I was like, I wanna learn from these folks, right? I wanna aspire to that level, and it was an amazing experience. So much so that I signed up the second year where they did the same workshop, and I signed up a second time, like where people were asking me like, weren't you here like last year? Like, so it was an amazing experience. Too bad it's not happening as of late. I wish they would bring this kind of thing back, so that you learn from these experiences, and it was amazing. But you might have your sort of mentors, idols, or people that you sort of aspire to be like, but you don't have to be there. You can be a perfectly good presenter without the need to be a superstar level presenter. So my promise here to you is that uh, I'm going to share what I learned from advice, from these kinds of trainings, from watching others, from mistakes that I've done. So I'm going to try to give you like a sneak peek in my personal toolbox of things that I know, things that I've tried, things that I failed at, and things that I found out that work great. So and it was sort of an interesting challenge because I liked that this format was sort of a lightning format, form short talk, because it really pushed me. It really forced me to think hard and distill what I consider to be essentials. Because there's so many things that you can talk about, on this meta level. You can talk about slides, you can talk about preparing, and we've seen already, there's a nice, Jens already gathered like a very nice collection of these meta talks about presenting, about preparing, about building your slides, about composition, about ending a talk, about do's and don'ts, and all sorts of advice. And we've seen even tonight exceptional advice. So it it really forced me to, this short format forced me to think what I feel like made the biggest difference for me. And I'm not saying I reached the level where I feel like, oh, I'm super happy with how I do it, but I feel like these kinds of things that I sort of try to synthesize here in a couple of slides really made a difference for me. So I'm gonna try to share that with you. So I'm hoping that at least you'll get, after these 5-10 minutes with me, you'll get sort of my essentials, my toolbox. So I liked when Kevlin earlier talked about killing people with bullets. So I have like a ton of bullets. So uh, get your vests on. So so I would say, if I had time, I would have removed them just to please Kevlin, but I didn't. So, so here come the bullets, Kevlin. So, so I would say start your presentation with the promise up front. So you need to find something to tease out the audience. You need to show a cool preview. You need to sort of make an outlandish claim. You need to make a bold statement. You need make to be to do some, I don't know, interesting reveal. You need to do something upfront so that people know why they should listen to you for the next minutes or so. So promise what they'll get out of it, show a teaser, show something to whet their appetite, and be really passionate about it. They really need to see. The topic might not be that interesting, but if you show real passion about it, might be like super niche, super like narrow interest kind of thing, or super nerdy thing, super nerdy detail, or it might be something like universally applicable. But some advanced users might consider that it's, oh, well, this is such a entry level thing. Why should I bother? But if you express real passion about it, if they see like enormous energy from you coming about it, they sort of they will be on the edge of their seats to see why are they so passionate, why are they so energetic about this topic. To me, it seems like, oh, just like regular run of the mill technical topic. Like, why is he so passionate about it, right? Now I'm curious, right? So it's important to frame your idea, to put it in context. Like when you're dropping someone in the middle of, oh, let me walk you through this nice library or some this technique that I developed, and uh, if you're assuming that your audience is with you, or has been with you, or has the same kind of background, or has faced the same kind of challenges and problems that you had, and it's not necessarily true. So you need to set a context, you need to set a frame so that people can identify your idea or your technique or the stuff that you're about to present. They need to see it in context, they need to understand, and you need to set up the status quo. They need to understand what's the um, custom wisdom, what's the mainstream technique, what are the mainstream, I don't know, solutions, libraries, the common patterns, common idioms around this thing that you're about to say, right? They need to understand, because not everyone might know what the status quo is, or they might have an outdated picture of what's going on for a couple of years. Maybe things have moved along. So you need to sort of try to bring everyone along to sort of align at the start. And you to make a case of why this is important. Like, why are you bothering talking about this? Why are you wasting time preparing for this thing? Why have you wasted time sort of investigating, building, I don't know, benchmarking or whatever? And why should they attend this presentation? And you need to sort of make a case for the motivation behind solving this problem, or coming up with that technique or that library or that or explaining that new concept in the new standard of the language, and so on. And it can be a universal motivation, or the motivation of a group of people, might be like a vertical or niche kind of thing or special audience. But I would say it's even more important if it's your motivation. So it's very important to sort of make it personal. Why did I get involved into this? What made me go this rabbit hole? Why do I feel the need to explain or to teach about this new concept in the, I don't know, C++ 37? I need to sort of explain why I care and what was my motivation going into this thing, so that people can relate to you and to the topic. And some ingredients that I found that really help. And I think that I connect excellently here with what Kevlin said earlier with the flow and when some of the ideas. And Kevlin actually very nicely punctuated the importance of the story and how that helps people absorb the information and persuades them. Humans are very much creatures of stories. Like, this is what makes us unique. The fact that we attach meaning to stories, we convey information through stories and through events and how we connect them. And this is how we remember stuff. For example, the most memorable presentations, technical presentations I've been involved with, have had some interesting stories behind them. And I'm not talking like metaphors or invented follow me on this journey kind of thing. No, might relate like an interesting challenge that team or that person faced, or might tell some story about how investigating the issues revealed some other interesting side effect or byproduct, or how uh, pursuing some rabbit hole or doing some kind of yak shaving and investigation, some interesting reveal happened, and some new insights were discovered, or how a project benefited from some interesting new technique or library. So and the stories can have personal touches, can reveal failures, can reveal learning moments. I would say memorable stories are most interesting when they reveal failures, or maybe post-mortem investigations that were really interesting, or the confluence of some really interesting events that happened by chance to sort of synchronize and cause some unexpected side effect that it was interesting to investigate and sort of figure out how to deal with, to solve. And connected here to this story element is the element of surprise. It's super helpful when you can sneak in an interesting, unexpected thing in your story. Like when you can say, oh, while we were investigating, or we were benchmarking this, or we were trying to figure out what caused that problem, an unexpected thing happened. Like we discovered that the underlying issue was not at all what we thought. It was or not at all what connected with the thing that we were modifying. Like this kind of butterfly effect, or several levels of indirection kind of spooky action at a distance kind of effects, where or surprising disappointment. Like we implemented the smartest, most fanciest hash implementation or hash container, and we measured it, and it was twice as slow as the standard one. And we were all bummed and disappointed that we spent 2 months investigating why it was so slow. And then you come with a reveal of the learning from that experience. Like the element of surprise is, even if it's a fail, it's more memorable, and it has bigger impact on the learning and experience of the audience than just walking them through oh, this is how the library works, and trust us, it took us years to get to this level and it's good now. No, tell them why, tell them all the failures along the way. And they need to take away the salient idea. They need to understand from all the things that you present, like what's the takeaway, what's the most important thing. Like if I should remember just 2 things out of an hour talk, what those 2 things should be. So let them leave with the salient idea of all your rambling. And to help with that, I see successful speakers sort of have these sort of sneaky tools. Like they would either sneak in some tokens or catchphrases, or they might invent some moniker, or they might do some clever pun associations, or some clever thing that or some clever imagery that would, for example, now will forever associate it, talking and flow of a presentation with canals in, I don't know, Copenhagen or Amsterdam, because I've just seen Kevlin show some nice pictures of those, and I will forever associate it like a rushed presentation with a Niagara Falls, right? And getting drenched. So sneaking in these kinds of monikers, these kinds of tokens and associations would make people remember and stuff from your talk. They might not remember the whole thing. They might not even remember the subject, but they will remember these tokens that you sneak in the presentation. So this is sort of cheat sheet kind of things that you can sneak in your presentation to make it memorable. So, and when you talk about sort of delivering on your idea, think about what's different and put an accent on what's different. Build a fence around the idea. This expression is not mine, by the way. I'm going to reveal from where it is. So, build a fence around your idea. My method, my idea is different from XYZ because, and highlight the differences. My method is similar to XYZ, but here's what I did differently. Here's what we tried and worked better. Like, try to contrast as much as possible. Don't try to sort of build, spend an enormous time explaining some mainstream thing and, when we did this differently. No, highlight what's different. And keep contrasting. Keep this sort of like contrast to existing know-how, existing method, existing knowledge. Keep always contrast, always compare, so that people understand what's the original part, right? Because otherwise they will get confused. What do you bring novel? Like, avoid people being confused about what's novel in what you're presenting. Are you presenting something that everyone knows? Are you presenting existing wisdom or techniques? What's different? What are you presenting novel here, right? And because I've spoke really fast up until now, and I now need to tell you all that you need to really go slow. And I think Kevlin made this point like at length about rhythm and how you should go about delivering on and pacing your talk. So I won't go into details there, but I will point out cycling. I believe that cycling through a presentation, especially like a long format presentation, like 45, 90 minutes, 60 minutes, it's important to cycle back and repeat things in different ways so that different people understand them on their own terms. So same kind of difference, same kind of ideas, sort of put it along the presentation, put it in different formats, in different settings, in different examples, 2 or 3 times, so that you can make it hit home in different ways, because not everyone will understand it in the same way. So you need to sort of have this sort of repeat and cycling back to get everyone. And make pauses, especially if you have like structured presentation and sort of natural stopping points, and not just to take questions, but to let people sort of get back on track. And I want to say here, like, don't lose anyone, right? Don't lose too many people during the presentation, right? Pause, use verbal punctuations so that people can have some natural anchor points, like have maybe an agenda so that people know what to expect, or some checkpoints so that they know where you are, right? Enumerations help. Kevlin earlier mentioned about not numbering them, but you can have these anchor points so that they know what you're talking about. Maybe they just, for a second, they misplaced their attention, and they look back up and they lost you because you went 2 3 slides and, oh, what is he talking about now? Like, oh, so have them an ability to get back on the bus. Help them have these anchor points where you sort of get them back in. Like, oh, if people are lost, this is where we now synchronize to move together to the next section or to the next idea. So have these sort of natural moments where you sort of try to have barriers as synchronization points. And you can use questions for that. And usually people expect that only audience ask questions. You can ask questions along the way. and this can be one of the techniques that you can use to get people back on the track. You can focus, engage or re-engage the audience if you ask them a couple of questions. Of course, this works better in a live environment, not necessarily how it is now, for example, online. And but you need to be very careful here. Like if you ask trivial questions, people would be embarrassed to raise their hands or to get involved, or they might feel that it's a trick question because it's too easy, right? At the same time, if it's too hard of a question, you'll get no answers, right? Or you'll get some wrong answer and that person will be embarrassed. So you need to be sort of careful how you plan these things. Don't just wing them. And the waiting is also important here. Like if you wait too long, it's awkward. If you don't wait enough, like people will maybe don't have a chance to raise their hands or don't make up the nerve to raise their hands or whatever. So you need to pace yourself, right? And when you're presenting live, waiting 5 seconds, 7 seconds seems like an eternity when you're waiting for that answer or that raised hand. But you need to sort of try to do a judgment call here. So try to gauge that and reward engagement. And by that I don't mean throwing candy in the audience when they get the question right or giving them a book or whatever. Oh, sure, that works, but I would say rewarding engagement is more, for example, highlighting an interesting new way of thinking or an interesting answer that you didn't expect but you find valuable, or highlight the fact that, oh, your answer actually reminding me to talk about X or Y, or sort of make that person that raised their hand and answer the question feel that they contributed to your story, so that others feel more empowered to do so, right? So reward engagement. And I mentioned a bunch of these nice things that I put in my toolbox, and I would say a lot of them came from Patrick Winston. And if you folks don't know who Patrick Winston was, I put a link here to this presentation that I highly encourage you to see. It's about speaking in general in multiple settings, not just presentations at conferences, all kind of presentations. And of course, but I already see that Jens took care of that. But just in case Jens wasn't prepared to show Kate's presentation and how to end the talk, I just put a reference here because it's just so good, and I had to end somehow. So that's it for me.
All right. I want to thank you, Victor. That was really a great lightning talk.